Hello. And welcome to episode 38 of Missed Mando, Ontario's source for the latest in the disc golf world. I'm your host, Sean Galbraith, joined tonight by my friend and co-host, Colleen McInnes. Colleen, how you doing?
Excellent. Thank you. How are you?
Fantastic. We just dropped the details for the Missed Mando Mayhem coming up on August 3rd at White Spruce. That is going to be super fun. Hope to see you there. Pick a partner and come and shred this absolutely ridiculous layout that I've created. What have you been up to?
I missed the last Missed Mando event, and I definitely regretted that. So I'm definitely looking into that one. Lots of tournaments. I mean, we just had the Beast, so
How did you do at the Beast?
It was a roller coaster, and I think it was that for everyone. They, Chris and Tobin like to be a little sadistic and make every hole harder than it needs to be. So there's playing the short to red at Bronte. It is one of the easier layouts, but having everything at par 3 was rough. So
Evil.
I didn't come out on top, but it was a battle.
Let's go. Well done. Another win in the 2025 season for Colleen. Well done. Well, tonight is a special edition episode. It's not a full episode of the show. We have a very special interview. We've been trying to set this one up for a few weeks now, but there have been technical difficulties. It's been a whole thing, but I'm very glad to say that, we've got a great guest tonight. We've been excited to have her on and brought in Colleen, to be the co-host for this one. And we'll be right back with that interview here on Miss Mando. Our next guest first joined the PDJ in 2020 and dipped her toes into the Pro Tour the next year, playing 5 events highlighted by a 10th place at the Des Moines Challenge. Through 2022 and 23, she went full tour life, playing 29 elites and majors. But most notably to us, as a Canadian podcast, in 2023, she traveled north of the border to the Canadian National Championships, where she pulled off the win in a playoff against, I forget who it was. I think no one of note. I'm sure that won't come up in this podcast. After a career high 27 events, in 2024, she's already played 8-9 events so far this year, including a 5th place at Cascade Challenge, which was tied for her best finish in an elite or major event. She also just cashed at the USWDGC, where her and fellow homie Ella Hansen won the pro doubles event. It is such a pleasure to finally welcome to Miss Mando from Burnsville, Minnesota, Raven Klein. Hello, Raven.
Hello.
And that's totally recap. The first time you've heard that recap, I'm sure.
Well, it is, because there was new stuff on it.
There is some new stuff on it from the last time we valiantly tried to interview you and failed successfully.
It's the best non-podcast I've ever done.
Well, really, that's all we can hope for. As we like to do with all of our eventual first-time guests, let's go back to the beginning. As we mentioned in the intro, you joined the PDJ in 2020. Were you a COVID convert, or had you already been playing at that point? And how did you first get into disc golf?
I was a COVID convert. I was playing volleyball at the time, and then when everything kind of shut down, one of my friends, who is now my boyfriend, but wasn't at the time, was like, "We're going to disc golf now." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Yep, this is what we do now, because we can be outside. It's just like 3 people. No one has to cross-contaminate, like touch anybody else's discs or anything." And I started playing with him and his friend, now my friend, Tony. And I just got sick of losing to them, like when we played, because they had been playing for a while. So I started practicing after work, and it's just kind of always been in my nature, if I like something, to practice it, even if it is supposed to be like a hobby or something casual. I'm not good at having casual hobbies. And by the end of 2020, I had met up with somebody who had asked me, like, oh, have you ever thought about disc golfing, like, as anything? And I was like, nope, not once, didn't even know it existed. And in December of 2020, I got sponsored by Didi because someone told me to apply. So I took a shot. And that's it. That's how I got into it.
Well, speaking of DD, you said you've been on that team since 2020 and have been with them ever since. So how is that relationship, and what is your tour series disc this year?
The relationship with them has been really good. When I first joined, they were really big on like family branding. The team felt like a family. And obviously through the past couple of years, there's been a lot of things that have happened, and the, house of discs and, different people working there. So there was maybe a year and a half of like transition with different team managers, things like that, where maybe it wasn't as cohesive, but everybody worked really hard to try and get us back into that feeling. And this year they've done a good job. My team captain has been Zach Melton for the last couple of years, and there's no better team captain. He does such a great job when he's out here, just like see everybody, make connections with all the team members. I love running into people across the country who are on my team who I've maybe only ever seen through Facebook or, someone who commented, and it's nice to meet everybody. And then this year, my tour series is the Vandal, and it's a really good run of discs. The Vandal is a flippy 9-speed, but this particular run is a little more stable out of the box, and I'm loving it.
Okay, because last year you had the Escape, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So how did you choose the Vandal this year? Did you not want to stick with that, or were you looking for, spreading the love of the Vandal and like promoting that?
Yeah, it was a combination. I mean, I think there's something to be said for somebody who has the same disc every year. I mean, Zach Melton is an example. He has done the Maverick for as long as I've been on the team. And so it's fun to get his disc every year. But I like the idea of spreading the knowledge of different discs. So I haven't had the same disc yet for like each tour series. So I did a Suspect, then I did a Convict, then I did an Escape, then I did a Vandal. So I do stick with discs that I think more people can throw. So by doing more of the neutral to flippy fairways the last 3 years, for new players, it might be the first disc that they get to fly straight. But for an advanced player, they can do a multitude of different shots with these discs. And I just think that that's a really cool aspect. So who knows what disc I'll do next year, but I do like my flippy fairways.
Love that.
Also, it's like from like a marketing and a buy more of these discs perspective, it's probably better to not have like a 13-speed maximum overstability bomber that like 3 people on the planet can throw. Having a disc that is accessible to more players. Did you?
Yeah, the year that we had the Suspect, I ran a 2-stamp, and the other one was with a Sheriff. And the Sheriff is a 12-speed that not everybody wants to throw. And I tried to explain to people that when I first started throwing it, I used it as a utility because I didn't have the arm speed for it. It was like the first disc that I forehanded because it wasn't going to come out. So it was great. And now I've got a Sheriff in my bag that I can hyzer flip up because it's beat in. But yeah, it's like a comfort thing. And so the Suspect sold a lot faster than the Sheriffs for that exact reason. But I was still really happy to do it because I don't want to have a tour series disc just because people think it's going to sell. I know that is kind of the point, but I want it to be a disc that I'm going to bag and that I can genuinely tell people, yes, I really like this disc. Yes, here's the one I throw in my bag. I don't want it just because last year this was the most popular mold, so I figured why not? I want to be able to back everything that I support. So.
If it was last year's popular mold, they've already bought it. You want the one that's going to be this year's most popular mold, and that's going to be the Vandal, of course. And it's is it the glow plastic? Are all the tour series in the glow?
No, they look like they should glow, but they're in. They don't. No, they don't glow. They're like a lucid, not glimmer, but like sparkle. Oh, they're very pretty, and they look like the glow plastic, but they're not the glow plastic.
Awesome. While we're talking discs and your bag, let's talk about that a little bit. What are some of your your most important discs that in your bag that you couldn't play without? The ones that you're going swimming in a lake to recover?
The second part of that question is easier. The first part depends on what course we're playing. Because like in the wooded courses, more of my mids and like my Vandal, but
like this weekend, you're getting ready to play the Discmania Challenge, formerly the Des Moines Challenge. So what are the discs that you're going to be leaning on heavily for this course?
So I actually have just recently bagged the new disc that came out, the Heist. And the one that I'm throwing, it's new. I forget what the actual numbers are because even the one that I have just says first run on it, but it's in between the kind of where my Trespass is and where my Gladiator, or the Gladiator is out of production, but the Rive, like an overstable disc.
Okay.
And so the Heist has more fight than the Trespass does, which is really nice for some of these shots where either like hole 3, you have to throw over the pond if you want to actually get close to the basket, and just knowing that your disc is going to work for you and come out of it instead of just having to lay up with something really stable to like the short side. But throwing that disc has been really fun. There are quite a few holes where when I do want to throw a driver, I tend to want to be left. And so that disc today in practice was huge, and I think it's going to be big for me this weekend. But then I have 2 Vandals in the bag, one that is very beat in, that can like hold a big Annie turnover line, which I don't need as much on this course, but I use it and my Escape to throw just like dead straight because I can put a little bit of hyzer on it and it's not going to turn too much. And so those are big discs for me this weekend. And then my EMAC Truth. Anytime I'm throwing a mid, I'm throwing the EMAC Truth.
And what are you putting with?
I putt with a Judge.
Classic.
Always. I've been team Judge since I joined the team.
And you joined the team pretty quickly after you went. Did you after you went pro or before you went pro? Because you made the jump to FPO pretty quickly. What was sort of the thinking behind that? And when did you start thinking the pro tour was where you wanted to be?
I went pro accidentally, so there was no thought to going pro. I had only played unsanctioned events in 2020. And then I played the Minnesota State Championships, and that was a sanctioned event, but I didn't know the difference between sanctioned and unsanctioned. And so when I got second place, and when they offered me, they're like, do you want the money or do you want funny money? And I was like, who would take funny? Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't take the money, because every other tournament I played, they just handed you cash. And so I took the money, and then everyone kept coming up to me and congratulating me. And I had no idea why. They were like, oh, we heard you took the money. Like, congratulations. That's so cool. And I ended up having a talk with the TD, who was one of the guys who actually got me he was the one who told me I should apply for dynamic disc. And he's like, do you know what you just did? And I was like, I have no idea. And so he kind of did a quick breakdown of like, well, you're a professional now. Like, your PDGA page is going to change, and you can continue to play FA1 until your rating is 875, but then you have to play open. And I was just like, whoops, I guess, okay. And then I remember sitting my parents down. I mean, I'm like 20, I was what, 26, 25. And I sat my parents down. I was like, guys, I have an announcement. I want you to know that I am a professional disc golfer now. And they just kind of looked at me. They're like, what did you just say? And I was like, yep, I know. You're super proud of me. And then I told them what actually happened, and they were just laughing, and it was a very fun evening.
We have a friend here who accidentally went pro for $20.
There you go.
Exact same kind of scenario.
I think mine was. Yep. I think it was like 100, maybe.
Wow. Okay,
I think I went pro for I think I went pro for $100.
That's decent.
Yeah. But as for like the. Huh?
I had a friend do that as well, and I didn't realize you can actually, if you wait a year and don't accept more money, you can apply to go back to amateur if you're really into the amateur life. But I like the no look back.
Yeah, I just was like, well, we're here now, so why would I I don't need any more discs, you know?
That's right.
Yeah. As for like the Pro Tour itself, so that happened in November of 2020 or something like that. I forget when the tournament was. Applied and got the sponsorship in December. And I was working at the time at a gluten-free bakery in like the warehouse. So I was just like moving back like 50-pound bags of flour, putting stuff in and out of the freezer. And I was like, man, I can't stop thinking about disc golf like while I'm at work. And I worked alone. Like it was just me in the warehouse. So I just had the day to myself in my head. And I couldn't wait to get out of work. And I was like, I'm going to go putt. I'm going to go do this thing. And I remember in 2021, my first ever like Pro Tour event was the Las Vegas Challenge. And Alex and Tony had gone with me and we're like, we're going to go. Like, you're going to go play this tournament and we're just going to see what happens. Like, see if you can even do it. And my goal was not last place. I was like, if you go and you don't get last, that's pretty good. But I got to Vegas. That was the first time I'd ever seen OB because I'd only ever played casual rounds. There wasn't really OB. And I get to Vegas and it's like, watch out for the greens, watch out for the bunkers, watch out. And they're like, oh, also we added this OB. And I was like, oh, this is terrible. And the wind was crazy, but I think I got 28th and that wasn't last. Last was like 34th or something. I don't remember. But then I ended up playing a string of tournaments in the middle of 2021, which included this event. But this one was funny because I had played the Preserve and Ledgestone and DDO. And then I was exhausted and I was like, we just got to see if I can do this. And at the time I was driving around in my Saturn Vue and I just had put down the seat and I had the little bed in the back, just a little mattress and then all my clothes and stuff on the side. And every night I'd like put towels in the window to like block all the windows so I could like go to sleep. But I remember the Des Moines Challenge was supposed to be an A tier and I was like, oh, that's going to be so nice. I'll be done playing against all these professionals and I can go play an A tier with some of my friends from Iowa. And maybe 3 weeks before they were like, the Des Moines Challenge has been added to the Pro Tour. And I was like, no, I was like, I don't want to play against all those people again. And then I got 10th. And up until last year, that was my best finish until Idlewild. And it was just kind of like a crazy, like I got featured. They like showed my throw on 18 when I was playing and they're all like, we have no idea who she is, but here she is. And I was like, oh, that's so exciting. And then I quit my job. And now I'm here and I'm on my 4th year on the tour and everything is just kind of, I just let it happen. So that's my story.
It's kind of all really fallen into place. Like, you know, it just kind of happened for you. And this year you're having quite a bit of success. You've already had, I think, 15 top or the same number of top 15 finishes as last year already. Mm-hmm. So do you think there's something done in the off season? Is there stuff you're working on that has like kind of propelled you this year to have more success already so early in the year? Well,
I would say nothing super specific this in the off season. I mean, the off season is so short and I've had some pretty bad luck where as soon as the off season comes around, I'm usually dealing with some type of injury or just overuse by the end of the year. And this past winter, I had surgery on my knee and the recovery for it was not as easy as they said it was going to be. So it was a very frustrating off season. And I think the biggest difference is just experience. You know, I've made certain mistakes enough that now when I'm looking at them again, I still want to be aggressive, but I'm more aware of not only my game, but what's at stake in the tournament. Because now it's not my first year on tour where, oh, whatever happens, happens. This is very much my livelihood. And so the difference between laying up and accepting, a tap and bogey where you remain in control of your game versus running a dangerous birdie and maybe having 3 or 4 more strokes that you don't need and then feeling out of control, just understanding the difference and the weight that those decisions have, I think is the biggest difference. In addition to that, I do have more of a forehand than I've ever had. I've always had the strength to throw a forehand, but I didn't have control. So I wouldn't use it if I had to hit a gap. And now I have more confidence in that ability. And when I walk up to things, I don't have to throw a patent pending backhand putter. I can just chip shot a forehand and it's very easy for me now, and I'm more confident. So
Yeah, more experience.
Mhm.
And do you think that surgery, like I had broken my foot 2 years ago, and when I came back last year, it was highly motivating because of that time off, sitting there and thinking about disc golf and planning out what you're gonna do when you come back. And like, do you think that kind of motivated you a little bit this year to really push yourself into that comfort level that you're clearly feeling?
I
Like, do you
think
think that?
a little bit. I've been dealing with injuries and things that have kind of stopped me since I was 8 years old, and I've dislocated my knees several times. I've had concussions. I've had a lot of things that have like taken me out. So I feel like my normal level is almost a little bit discomfort, but the surgery, I think, maybe pushed me a little bit, because in the winter, also I'm in Minnesota, so winter golf, you're not really training. It's just, do I want to go out and play this totally other sport? I'm in 3 feet of snow. Everything's a standstill. You're wearing mittens. You're wearing 18 light, like whatever it is. And normally in the winter, I don't necessarily want to go out and play. Like, I want to go to the gym. I want to train. And the only reason I'll go out is because I want to play with my friends, because they're like, we want to go play. And I'm like, yeah, I'll go because I want to see you guys. But this year, because I couldn't, like, it wasn't just me not wanting to, but because I couldn't, and my PT was even like, yeah, I don't want you standing for more than like 15 minutes. I was losing my mind, and I was trying to do more creative things, and I was like, okay, well, if I have to sit, I'll paint or I'll whatever. But I just didn't have the motivation for that, because I was like, man, I now I really want to disc golf, like, because I can't do it. I'm like a kid in a play box who's like you can't have that toy. I'm like, but I want that toy more now. And so I mean, I guess that's part of it, but I feel like I don't know if it's 100% what caused it,
Yeah,
but it is a factor.
it's like
Help
sustaining
with that
your mind.
drive.
Yeah.
Speaking of the off season, so you've been posting videos of your sweet new van build. So I assume you enjoy the van life, the tour van life. How long did it take to build out, and what were some of like the main choice upgrades from last season? Certainly over the old Saturn.
Well, yeah, the Saturn was for about a month. Then for 3 years, I traveled in a Nissan NV 200, which is slightly smaller than your standard minivan. But her name was Willow, and she was built where every single like square inch was accounted for. When we were building her, Alex actually had me. He's like, all right, I want you to take everything you want to pack and set it in the foyer, because we're going to build around the items. So like, we didn't actually start building until we knew what cooler I was going to have, until we knew what I was going to keep my discs in, until we knew what bag I had, until we knew, and then everything was built in cubbies to fit those specific items. So like, everything had a place. And I loved that van, and she was fantastic. However, I can say that the upgrade that I made has been life changing. Like, today, even I've had the conversation, people are like, I can't believe you were in that small van for 3 years. And I was like, now that I'm here, I also don't know how I did that for 3 years. But in this van, I can stand up, which is huge. I could not stand up in my other van. I can have people in here. So when there's like a storm, I had 3 people comfortably just chilling, which I know isn't like a huge deal, but it's kind of a huge deal. I can cook inside now. I've got fans. After my first year on tour, I upgraded from like a cooler where I got ice twice a week to a fridge. And I still have that fridge. And that would be like my number one thing when I tell people, I'm like, if you're going to do the van life and you can afford it, get a big battery pack and get a fridge, because the cooler with the ice is just not worth the hassle if you can afford the other thing. I was like, I did it for a year and like it worked, but the fridge is a game changer as well. I have a full-size bed, which is crazy. I'm trying to think of all the other things. I have a whole shelf with all my tea. Like I've got a tea selection, because that's like my favorite thing on the road. I have a little table in front of me. You can't really see it, but it's like a little work desk. I don't know. I mean, everything in here is like technically an upgrade, whether it be in just size or space or, I don't know. I've got a sink, which is pretty cool. Solar panels mounted on the roof instead of having to pull out a solar panel every day, put it on my roof, and then try and remember to take it down before you drive away, which I only forgot to do like twice. But yeah, I mean, I love the new van. So,
which van did you go with?
I have a Ram ProMaster 3500 high roof extended cab.
Damn. So basically, your old van could fit in the back
inside.
Of this
Correct. 100% the old van could fit in, and I mean like the whole van could fit inside here, not just the interior.
Is it too much space?
No. No, I think what was so hard about the small van, oddly enough, wasn't like the people space. Like my bed was so cozy in the small van. It was like it being in a little cocoon. I had a cedar ceiling that still smelled like the wood, and I had really nice little string lights. So it was very comfy. But there, I had to make so many decisions of like, okay, what do you actually want to have with you on the road? What can you afford space-wise to have with you? And I have so many other hobbies and things that I like to do, because other than disc golf, I also do graphic design for my job. So for the work specifically, I can just have my iPad, but for me to actually feel like I'm fulfilling the creative side of me, I need more stuff than that. And so I feel like now with the amount of space I have, I can actually bring things that I wanted to bring, not just things that I had to bring. If that makes sense. So the bench I'm sitting on that you can't see is just full of art supplies.
Basically, your tour van quality of life has gone through the roof. So do you enjoy like the van life where you're driving from city to city and campgrounding it or whatever? You enjoy that aspect of the tour life?
I do, yeah. I think the van life is so much fun, and it's weird for me to fly, not only because I don't have my house with me, but it's so fast. Like you just get there and you're in a new place, and with driving, you like get to enjoy the progression. There are some places that obviously aren't as maybe exciting to drive through if you're in like farm fields or something, but for example, when we're on the West Coast, we're in Oregon, and you see mountains and you see all these like the crazy tall pine trees, and then you just slowly start to change, and then you get into more of like the rocky mountain type versus the greenery mountain, and just getting to watch the progression, and then slowly it turns from mountains to hills, and then it goes from hills to valleys, and then you get, you're in North Dakota, and then you're back in Minnesota, and it gets very green again. And I just think it's so fascinating to be like, wow, yesterday I was on the coast, and now here I am in Minnesota. And I don't know, I just think it's a cool experience, and the time that you get when you're on the road. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, but also it's just like, I feel like I have my best thoughts while I'm driving. So I actually have like a note on my phone where I'm just like, hey, phone, I need you to write this down. And it'll just, it's all chaotic, but I really enjoy the driving.
Yeah, and you are a freelance graphic designer as well. So I know you've created a coloring book. I got Kat to bring it back up to Canada for me. Yeah. And so
That's right, she picked that up in Virginia.
Yeah. It's so funny because I saw you at a tournament and you're like, oh, did you get the book? And I was like, I haven't even seen Kat. She had it. It's like, it's coming somehow. But yeah, you've designed some stamps and like done some really cool stuff, such as your coloring book. So how does that kind of play into your life? Like, is that another just like hobby, or is that like a side hustle for you? Is maybe a post-career option going into that kind of maybe tattoo artist or designing stamps, or?
It definitely is like my side hustle. If I have a really bad tournament, it's my main hustle. But I really enjoy I did not go to school for graphic design. I've just always liked drawing and being creative. And so when I decided to go on the tour, knowing that I was not the best player out there and that as much as I wanted to try and win a tournament, I was very realistic. I'm like, you're going against people who've been playing for 20 years and touring for 15. They should beat you. And I was like, you need to have something else that you can do. And I figured out that I could do graphic design, and I just kind of learned on the way. And now I'm, been doing it for 5 years and have a website and a coloring book and, all these things that I never thought I would do. And I love doing stamps, not only for like myself, but for people who are interested. And I think that it is something that I think about where I'm like, whenever I decide to stop touring, I will probably do something with graphics, although I'm not sure how yet, just because I don't think I'd want to necessarily go into the business side where you're just doing, logos and pamphlets and websites for people. I don't mind doing it, and I've done that for a few people, but I don't think that it's where my heart is. So I'd have to find a way to really let myself have my creative freedom while still appealing to people who want to hire me. I am working on another coloring book right now that's more kid friendly, because the first one is very, very detailed, because I really made it for me and I like detail. But I've also been trying to get into like more painting and trying just like new things. So I do think it'll be a future career, but I also hope to continue mixing it in with the disc golf.
Yeah, and you never know. I mean, I don't think Yuli and Germ thought they'd be doing commentary like they are now, right? Like these careers are kind of springing out of disc golf. So kind of never know where the sport might actually present an opportunity like that. So we hope to see you designing for the PDGA or for the World Games or something for disc golf or something cool.
When I had a really nice opportunity actually last week at US Women's, I had been reached out to in the winter to not only design a stamp that was going to go in the player packs, but also they asked me to do like a 5-page coloring book, like an individual one that went in all the player packs. So that was a really cool experience, and everybody got, I feel like I had one right next to me, but now, it's over there. I can almost reach it. They had me design like a 5-page coloring book, and everybody got one. And I even told them, I was like, I know that normally that stuff goes in AM player packs. I was like, but I know a lot of pros who would probably like to color. So they printed enough to also put them in the pro player packs, which was really cool. And I had so many people come up to me, like from juniors to the women competing in FA 70, come up to me and be like, oh my gosh, you're Raven. Thank you so much for the coloring book. I loved it. And I was like overwhelmed with how many people actually like made a point to come thank me and tell me that they liked it. And it was really cool. And I was talking to the woman who's helping run stuff next year for US Women's in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I just hope that now that people have seen that that's a possibility, that maybe there will be more people branching out for like unique items or things like that. And I definitely want to try and keep my foot in the door. Had someone ask me, they're like, yeah, we do a junior series and we'd love to do something like this. And I was like, yes, please contact me, because I had so much fun doing it.
Yeah, that is amazing, and hopefully inspires, if anyone's listening out there, go to your local tournament and share your talent, because that is, and I think it is very important what you said about like how nice that warm reception was for you and how many people went out of their way. So just the disc golf community, man, it keeps giving back, and it's great.
Yeah.
What designs did you put in the USWDGC coloring book? Were they the sort of the nature inspired stuff from your main book, or were they more disc golf inspired?
No, they're definitely nature inspired. That's just kind of how I like to do the designs. And they had told me, they're like, we really like your coloring book, so if you want to use that style for the pages. And so I did like a mandala with just like US Women's, Manitowoc, Wisconsin. That one's just like a fun patterned one. I did a similar style. I'm going to grab it. Hold on. Wait, this is going to be good. It's only so far, in the van. Just enough.
But much farther than it used to be in the Nissan.
So much further than it used to be. Okay. So there's a mandala page that has U.S. women's. Then this one was kind of like a combo. So it's the Wisconsin state flower, and like the flower pot is the basket. So it's like a little bit of a crossover. This is the one I colored already. This is just a leaf with a bunch of things on the inside. And then this was the stamp that got printed on one of the discs. And the Silver Creek has one iconic hole where the basket is on a lighthouse. And it is a beautiful hole.
We saw that
the green
on coverage
is,
quite a bit.
Oh my gosh. It's so gorgeous. And so this one got printed on a disc. And then I also did a special run of stickers that people could like only come get from me at the Fly Mart. So that, and then I sent them just like the simple version of the mandala for the back. And this one was just saying that I drew it basically. And that if people color it, they should tag me in it, which I still am hoping to see people do, because I love seeing people color. I think that's one of the coolest things about coloring books or things like that, is that we all have the same image, but not a single one of them is going to be the same. And I think that that's cool.
That is really cool. That is awesome. Those look beautiful, and hopefully
Thank
everyone
you.
takes. Yeah. So you got a lot of really cool hobbies, I gotta say.
Thank you.
But your biggest one this weekend, you're competing at Des Moines. I always say that wrong.
Yeah,
Des Moines.
Discmania. It is Des Moines.
But it's
south of Des Moines, but.
So how are you feeling about this weekend's event?
I'm feeling pretty good. I like this track a lot. I haven't always played it well. There's usually like one hole that gets me. I don't plan on letting that happen this year. Like I said, in the first time I ever played it, I got a top 10 finish, and I've been trying to recapture that every year. But the more you know, the more you expect of yourself. There's all these different things, and we've almost never had good weather here. We usually have at least one day that has weather delays, if not a round being totally canceled, whether on the FPO or MPO side. And it does look like we're going to get rain again this weekend. That's what we get for being in the Midwest in June. But I'm really excited about the track. I like the changes that they made. I feel like they're finally expecting more out of FPO, where they're requiring more technical shots versus just being like, well, here's the MPO hole and we're just going to move you closer. And that still happens sometimes, but at least some of our holes now, it's like, no, you have to have a touch shot off the tee and a controlled second shot for this par 4. And I really appreciate that in design. And I think that this course has a good variety of shots with the rolling hills and everything. And I'm excited. I've been doing a little extra putting this week just to really try and get myself locked in. I feel like that's where I'm losing strokes in the past few tournaments, where I throw really well. And then when I'm at that edge of circle, it's like 50-50, and I want it to be more 70-30, if not 90. So
Yeah, get those stats up. That's right. Well,
the heat is crazy though, so I'm going to see how that goes.
Yeah, it's tough when it's hot and then you're expecting rain too, and you're like, I want it, but I don't.
Yeah, I'm like, I do want the rain to cool me down, but then it gets really muddy. So.
Well, good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Looking ahead to the rest of the season, or at least the next sort of tranche of the season, you're heading to Europe for the European Swing. I don't think you played any tour stops there last year. Will this be your first time playing in Europe? Which events or courses are you most looking forward to playing?
This
Besides
will be my first time. Yeah, all of them. Yeah. This will be my first time going to Europe to play disc golf. I've been to Europe before, but it was before I knew about the sport, or played the sport anyway. I knew it existed, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited to play Crokel. European Disc Golf Festival I am currently number 1 on the wait list, but I'm signed up for the Monday qualifier, so I'm hoping that everything works out and I get into that one. And then obviously Worlds being in Finland is kind of crazy, but both courses, I don't think there's a course over there that people play for a tournament that I wouldn't be excited to play. I feel like I need to refresh myself a little bit. So this weekend and Monday, Tuesday, before I actually fly out there next week, I'm going to try and just watch a little bit of coverage from last year, refamiliarize myself, because I also have to pack. Like, I don't really know what disc to bring as backups. So I'm going to rewatch all the coverage and then be like, okay, this is a hole where there's potential of lost disc or whatever it is, and just get myself more comfortable with the courses before I get there. But I'm very excited. I am traveling there solo, but I have like 6 people coming to Finland. My mom and dad are coming to Finland. My boyfriend and my roommate are coming to Finland. And then 2 of my uncles are coming to Finland because they just figured it sounded like a fun trip.
I presume you're not bringing the van to Europe.
Oh, I wish, but no.
A safe bet. But so are you? So will it be like Airbnb with some tour friends, or is this hotel life?
Yeah, we'll be doing Airbnb. So I'm splitting Airbnbs with people for Norway and Estonia. And then when my family shows up for Finland, I'll be splitting an Airbnb with my roommates, and my parents will be at a hotel. But then that's the only one I'm renting a car for. So for Norway and Estonia, I'll either be doing like scooters or taking public transportation, because I know that like in Norway, there's a bus stop close to where we're staying that goes straight to the course. So it just takes a lot of research before you get there. I still haven't looked up everything. So I have like 5 days unaccounted for where I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going to be or what I'm doing, but I'll figure it out.
Absolutely. For like Worlds, I mean, I'm sure you've watched both of these courses before. Do you think one of them is better suited to your game?
No, I think they're pretty equal to what I have. Yeah. I don't think that one is better than the other for my game necessarily, but I'm excited about both of them. Yeah, I wish I had more details on that, but I wouldn't even be able to tell you like a specific hole in my head right now, because I think I'm confusing a couple of the courses.
There are so many of them.
Yeah. There's courses that I've watched coverage for, but I'm not playing them. And I think I'll leave it at that. I'm excited.
We're going to have you back and hear your review after.
Definitely. Yeah. I'll take notes.
Yeah. I'm so jealous because I'm sure pretty much every pro that plays wants to be in Europe this year. So it's going to be amazing. I know the Europeans are so excited. This is, if anyone doesn't know, the first time it's been outside the US since it was in Canada, and that was the only other time. And
1987.
It was so long ago.
That people don't even
know that. Yeah, so very exciting for Europe. They're thrilled. I know they were talking about it when we were in Australia. So, speaking of traveling, though, you've done quite a bit with Uplay. Been involved in that program. How did you get involved in that? It's getting sports into schools and with kids, right?
Yeah. So Uplay is universal play, and it's just, everybody can disc golf. So on the tour, we do a lot of work with schools and like local community organizations, but it can be for anything. I mean, some of the organizations we've worked with is like adults with special needs that are just in that same community that we might have a pro tour stop. But there is a curriculum book, and that's what we give to schools when we work with them. So I actually got into it the first year on tour, or maybe the second year on tour, because Ella was working with them and she needed a couple coaches. She was like, hey, I don't have people working with me this week. Is there any chance that you're free? And I've always loved coaching. Like, that's what I did before coming into disc golf, I coached volleyball, I coached badminton, I coached weightlifting, I coached soccer. And I was like, that sounds great. Let's go do that. And I loved it. So then I kept helping for the rest of that year. And then the next season, I became one of the head coaches. And now I've just been doing it every year. And 2 winters ago, I went to Africa with the team. And that was an amazing experience. It was one of those things where everyone's like, oh, that's so great. You're going to have such a great time. And I was like trying to remind people, like, yeah, but we are like working the whole time. I was like, it is amazing. And it's great to be in these other places, but I don't remember the last time I was that tired. Like it was a lot of work. It was very exhausting, but it was very fulfilling. And I'm glad that we were able to, we hosted the first ever PDGA tournament in Uganda. And then we also ran a tournament in Kenya, and that one we all like played in, which was really cool. And, you know, it's just one of those things where I never knew I was going to be doing that either, but I'm so glad that I'm involved. And we do a universal or a community connect every week that we have a Pro Tour stop. So this week we worked with a summer camp group yesterday, and we were at this big sport complex, and we had 110 kids, and they were ages 5 to 12. So that was, you know, that's a pretty big group, and with young kids, and you definitely have to have patience, and it's nice to have more coaches from the, you know, professional disc golfers that are out here, and we're always trying to get new people to come do it. And the tour is very supportive of Uplay, which is cool. So every time we go somewhere, we end up donating a couple hundred discs and 2 baskets that we leave with them. So each kid gets to take a disc home, and then we leave a set with either the school or the program so that they can continue to teach disc golf once we're gone.
That's amazing. And that's at every tour stop that you do this.
Yeah, most of them. There's only been a couple where it didn't work out because either all the kids were on break, so we couldn't work with the school, or we had one community connect where the people we were supposed to work with, it just like they had to cancel on us, and it was too late for us to find a replacement. And that, you know, that sometimes happens. And then in California, we didn't do one because that is the week that we host our fundraiser, the Disc Golf Strokes, where they have disc golfers and professional artists team up and do a painting, and then we auction the paintings over the entire tournament weekend, and that money helps fund Uplay for the year.
That's amazing. So you guys had done that recently, right?
Yeah, we did that in Stockton at Champions Cup.
Yeah. And were you lead artist on one of them? I feel like I saw you posting about it.
Yeah, this year I was. So the last 2 years I was the disc golfer, and I got teamed up with an artist. And then this year, Zoe Andike, who kind of she's the head of Uplay, she wanted me to be both. She's like, how do you feel about being the artist and the disc golfer? And I was very nervous about it because painting in front of people specifically is not my specialty. And it makes me nervous because I don't consider myself too much of a painter. I consider myself more of a sketch artist, or, you know, things like that. So it was a challenge, but I really enjoyed it. And I've been trying to paint more. I got a bunch of little tiny paintings behind me for when I find the time, but it was a really cool experience, and I was very happy with how it turned out.
It's so insightful to hear about tour life, because I mean, you're saying you're doing graphic design, you're playing pretty much every weekend, you're doing these Uplay volunteer events. So it's a lot. It's a lot to be on tour, and it is a full-time career, really. I think some people think, you know, they just think about the tournament part. And it really is quite a commitment to be out there and doing all of that and giving back so much. So you had mentioned Zoe, I think. Is she the one that organizes where these events are and everything? She's coordinating that?
Yeah, so Zoe Andike and Dustin Keegan, and their home office, you know, base is out of Eugene, Oregon. And we'll go to some of the same schools, you know, year after year, and because you'll get different kids in the different grades and everything. But we'll have people that are local be like, oh, it'd be so great if you looked into maybe bringing it to this school. Or we'll have people message us. So they do all of the work on the back end, and then they share the information with whoever the lead is. So sometimes that's me, sometimes that's Ella Hansen, sometimes it's Zoe if she's at a tournament. And and they just put us in contact with the people. So we'll be attached on an email and be like, hey, this is Anna. This is who you're going to be talking to this week. And then we communicate and make sure we have the times and coaches. And so they do all that work. And then we do the teaching and, media capture and stuff so that they can post.
Speaking of posting, I think you first came on my radar in, was it 2022 when you made the video dancing with Ella. I think the Earth, Wind and Fire's September I think it was at the MVP Open.
It was
probably on that bad rain delay we had on was it the Thursday? I think it was maybe. How much fun do you and the homies have on tour just making fun, silly videos?
I mean, when we make videos, it's very fun. We all
make more.
I mean,
they're awesome.
I would like to make more. It's funny. We'll see each other and be like, hey, I had an idea. And we go, great. So did I. And then like weeks will pass and we're like, I don't remember what my idea was, but it was good. This year we've all been like more busy than normal. And even my dumb posts that I normally make, I haven't made a silly one in a while just because there's so many other things going on. And I feel like between showing people the van build videos and then, trying to make different content maybe that people don't see. And I think sometimes, a video might only be a minute long, but it took 45 minutes to edit it or to, and I do so much on devices between my phone and the iPad for drawing that you can get sucked in. And I'm like, man, I don't want to touch my phone right now, even though I could be editing videos. So then I don't do it and they get postponed. And then we have a whole new week where you do new things. You saw new stuff, you created new content, and now you're behind by like a month. And it gets very overwhelming sometimes because when you're on tour, you're everything. You're the player, you're your coach, you're your media content, you're in charge of, you're the chef, you're the, all these different things. And sometimes you have to be like, okay, well, this week we're not going to be that person because the other 4 of me is tired. And so I'd love to make more videos, and I know that they would too, but we've just been tired, I think is the main thing. And just like making sure everybody gets together. And in the van, I might be able to stay at the course, but Holland is in like her 5th wheel, like her trailer. And so they stay at an RV park, and then we're not close. And then Ella might be at the park or might be at the course, or she might be at an Airbnb or whatever. And so getting everybody together when they also have their own obligations for the week, or depending on which sponsor is the head sponsor of the tournament, we might have different things. So when Discraft is the sponsor, Holland's more busy, or if Discmania is the sponsor, Ella's more busy, or, so there's a lot of things going on and trying to get everybody on the same page. There'll be weeks where we don't see each other. Like, unless we're on the same card, we're like, hey, how was your week? How have you been? I haven't seen you since last week. And, but noted, and we will try to make more. But the dancing one is that one was so much fun, and I think about it every September 21st.
Please keep reposting it for sure.
I do. Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna put this on the story till I die, I think.
Oh, that's great. I think we all enjoy the good photo dumps and stuff like that too. It's, everyone loves to see just the background of the tour life. It just looks so fun, and like we all see you guys on TV all the time, so you're always big celebrities when you come to town, but it's a little taste, and it's like being there. So we appreciate all you share, no matter how much or how little.
That's good to know, because I feel like sometimes when you have to post, you might have one thing that people really like. And I noticed with the van build videos, people might watch it, but they don't necessarily interact with it. So they might not like it. They might not comment, but that's what people were telling me about in person the most. They're like, I love watching your van videos. And I was like, I wouldn't have known that. I just keep doing it because I think it's kind of cool. Most of the stuff I post, I'm just like, I like it. We'll see if somebody else does. I don't know. And I notice, oddly enough, the things that I get the least digital feedback on are the things that most people will talk to me about in person, where they're like, I love when you do this, or I love when, and I'm just like, oh, well, that's cool. Good to know.
Oh, it's funny. It's funny how that works. And, you know, people like the things. Don't just watch a reel. Actually like it. Find myself doing that far too often. But, you know, getting sucked into social media and things like that.
Yeah.
Has there been a final van tour video? Have you finished?
Nope.
And don't worry.
I almost edited one today. So maybe this will be my motivation to do the next one tonight. But I think I'm behind 3 or 4 of like actual building videos, because I know in the last video, the cabinet that's above my head does not exist. I'm trying there's a few things. The fans didn't work in the last video because the solar wasn't done. So I have a few things to catch up on. But yeah, like I said, you never know when it's like tournament days. I'm like, I'm not going to post the other stuff because people are like in the tournament. But then if I forget to post it, you know, Monday through Wednesday, I'm like, I missed my window and now I got to wait another week. But yeah, the van stuff I'll get caught up on.
Yeah. And I mean, it's similar to the tournament stuff. Like I've had local stuff where people are like, oh, I watched that tournament that you were in. To see the course, because it's a really good way to see because you haven't played. And I think that that's very true for people who are thinking about tour life and maybe breaking out into that scene, to be able to go and watch the videos that you post and get inspired, but maybe even understand like how you can, because like, you know, before I watched any of it, I was like, yeah, I just kind of thought people got people to do that. Like you just had a guy who does the van install. And so to do it on your own, it's like a lot of things that you're showing are cool that people don't know that you can do or haven't ever thought of adding, or, you know, they would have just thrown a bed in there and called it good. So I think that it's just like that. And it's valuable in such a different way that you'll probably never know. Like, I'm sure there will be a bunch of people who watch your van videos and build their vans, and you never know that. And so it is impactful no matter how much feedback you get, but hopefully you get that feedback. But yeah, we're always watching you on social media, and I'm always trying to like and love and comment on things, but I can't help but notice that you haven't signed up for nationals, but I did see it on your social media that you were planning to come to Canada.
Oh, yeah, I am planning to come to Canada. Is it still open?
And there is one saved spot. I'm pretty sure Daryl knows that you had posted that. He had saved touring FPO spots.
Okay.
And I think a few Americans had taken
I'll have to message him.
Yeah, you got to message him because I know Paige took one. And there's someone from Europe. I want to say Finland. Okay. But I could be wrong. But yeah, so there is a spot still for you. We're hoping you come. I think everyone's
I honestly just forgot that I hadn't, because in my head, I'm like, even when I tell people about my schedule, I'm like, well, and then after Michigan, I go up to Canada and I'm playing Canadian National. So I'll get on that. See, things just fall through the cracks.
Well, I'm glad we could remind you so that happens, because
I feel like I gotta write it down.
So excited to see you again, and it's right with Iglo and Green Mountain, so it's like the best time to come up to Canada.
I know, and it was such a good time last year. So,
and we've got quite a tournament. We're only playing 3 courses, but there's 4 courses. There's like a crokinole tournament and a whole bunch of stuff going on. So,
is that the same game that we played last year, or that people played last year?
Yeah, you like?
Yep,
okay,
it is.
Yeah,
we have to like flick that little disc thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I didn't play. I just watched. So we'll see.
Well, that needs to change this year. You got to get in on that. The crokinole action.
I'll try.
We can do a We can do it for fun's, no scorekeeping, mess around time.
Honestly, I need to I don't want to enter a tournament of something I've never played. So I need at least like one practice, you know?
We'll do a practice round, then we'll do a practice round of Crocodile.
Perfect. I love that plan. That sounds great.
And then hug some goats.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, before we let you go, Raven, as with all of our first time guests here on Miss Mando, we like to do the good old lightning round. It is time.
Okay.
So quick answers, whatever comes to your mind first. Easy one to start off with. What is your favorite course?
Why is that? Why do you think that's easy? Brewster Ridge.
Solid choice. Excellent choice.
If that's easy, I can only imagine what the next question is.
What's the hardest course you've played? That's subjective too. Like you could
I feel like, I mean, there's like the hardest course actually, or the one that I made look the hardest is different.
Like
However,
I would only bring certain people here because it's so hard.
I mean, Northwood Black.
Of course.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I love that course. I want to make that very clear.
What is one sport to play or watch other than disc golf that is highest on your list?
Volleyball.
I support that choice. That's a great choice. All right. What is one song that makes you instantly turn up the volume and sing max volume, like sing your heart out?
That's the karaoke cut.
Oh, that's a different one.
Oh, let's go with both.
Okay. Ooh. Good Morning by Max Frost. Anytime tournaments are like, what do you want for your walkout song? That's what I pick. For karaoke, I like to sing One Last Hope from Hercules.
Oh, solid.
Deep cut.
Danny DeVito's kind of in my vocal range.
That is awesome. When you're driving from stop to stop, what is your favorite place on the road trip to stop for food? You see the sign in the distance, I got to stop there.
I try not to stop for food when I'm driving. I try and like make my own sandwiches and things. Just one, to save money, and two, it saves time at each stop. You know, if you're just stopping for gas in the bathroom, you can get it done in 10 to 15 minutes. But if you're stopping for food, it might be half hour. But when we're south, I love going to Buc-ee's, the gas station, and getting beef jerky. But when we're in Wisconsin, I'll stop at Quick Trip because I love Quick Trip. And they actually have really good chicken tenders. So sometimes I'll buy a 3-pack of chicken tenders and then I bring them in the van and I make wraps like tortilla, but I just use their chicken. And then
it's a pro tip right there.
Yeah, that is. Stay healthy on the road.
You try your best, and I love chips, but I try not to buy them.
Yes.
So I eat them all.
This might be a hard question because you're on the road a lot.
Okay.
But what movie never gets old, no matter how much you watch it? You watch it over and over.
What movie?
Yeah.
Eurovision.
Oh, that's so good.
The Saga of Fire and Ice?
Fire Saga.
Fire Saga, whatever it's called. That's so good.
Way more attention than it got. It was so good.
So good. That soundtrack is an absolute banger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Several of those songs are on my warm-up playlist.
I'm waiting for the walkout song to Ya Ya Ding Dong.
Okay, yeah. I tried to get my boyfriend to walk out to Line of Love, but he hasn't done it yet.
Challenge accepted. And lastly, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I want to be able to talk to animals. Mostly so I can be like, hey, I don't mean any harm. I just think that you're beautiful. Like, I'd love to look at you without you running away, or like, hey, can I take your picture? Or, something. Mostly just to communicate that I have no intention of harming them.
You're the first person who has picked that superpower, and I think that might be the best one that we have had.
That was the most wholesome answer too. Like, you want to get consent from the animals to take the picture. Like, he's so sweet.
Well, I mean, like,
Who
even
needs
today we
flight?
have, some, like, a lot of players have like tour animals, and one of the players' cats was like chasing around this tiny little ground squirrel, and like he's still alive, but I just felt so bad because you could tell he was terrified. But then when I came up to try and separate him, he was scared of me too, and I just wanted to be like, no, wait, please, like, let me
You're even
let me
bigger.
get you away from here. Like, I knew that he was just scared, and I was like, I just wish they weren't scared of me, you know? Yeah.
That's my favorite answer to this, to the superpower question. 100%.
So sweet.
Thanks.
So before we let you go, we want to give you an opportunity to do any shout outs, any final comments. If you want to shout out your sponsors, anyone in particular this year.
Yeah. Well, so I'm sponsored by Dynamic Disc, OTB, which is great if you want to find some discs online if you're not just a strictly trilogy person. Dr. Christy Disc Dies, she's out of Emporia, Kansas. I always have at least one of her dies in my bag, but also she loves that I do disc dies, so we work together and we like share strategy. I'm also sponsored by Treasures of the Forest, and they make the really cool wooden resin minis where every piece of wood is actually found on a disc golf course, and then they pour the resin or they do like the paintings. Rat Pack is just my people in Minnesota, and I love them. It's just Alex and Tony. It's just Raven, Alex, Tony. We're the Rat Pack. And then Throw Pink has been one of my sponsors for, I think I got with them the same year I joined with DD. So I've been with both of them this is my 5th season. And then personal shout outs. If you don't follow me on Instagram, it's a pretty good time. Klein 55. They can attest, or they say so anyway. And then I do have a website, ravenkleindesign.com, and I post disc dies there. I have all my stickers available. You can buy my coloring book. And then I recently made a t-shirt that has all of my T stickers on it. So I make T pun stickers and I put them all on a shirt. So now they're a t-shirt, and it's one of my favorite things. So you can get that on the website.
I saw you posted the t-shirt, and yeah, it is great. It is great.
And make sure you stock up on that stuff before you come to Canada, because we're all
we're buying.
Oh yeah.
I know that the t-shirt is so tough because I don't have yes, the van's big, but I don't have a ton of space, and I offer it in like 10 different colors and extra small to 5X, and I can't keep all of those on hand. So that one I actually do a print to order on the website, but it's still worth it, and the shipping's pretty quick. I tested it. So
Well, definitely bring what you can to sell at the Fly Mart here, because I know you've got a lot of fans up here, and they will be unfortunately throwing Canadian dollars at you, but they will be throwing them nonetheless.
I did a bunch of conversions last year, so I was like, it's actually this much, and it was, try my best.
It was funny last year. Philo was selling some discs, and at the Screaming Goat Cafe there.
Yeah.
And he did the conversion the wrong way. So they were like extra cheap. And I think he actually lost money on like the first half of the discs that he sold. Like, it should actually be this much. He's like, oh no.
That's why he sold so many.
Here's I'm going to top that off for you. Raven, what an absolute pleasure and joy it has been to have you on the show. We can't thank you enough. I know we've been trying to set this up for a while, and
finally got it.
You finally got it. Yes. I can't wait to watch you more on coverage this year. Can't wait to see you up here for Canadian Nationals, and then I'll be at the MVP Open again this year, and I'll see you there, I am sure. But until then, thank you for joining us, and have an amazing 2025 tour, and we'll be right back on Miss Mando. Welcome back to Miss Mando. Thank you so much to Raven for joining us. What can you say? What an interview. What an amazing guest.
What an inspiration too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think that wraps us up for this special edition of Miss Mando interview only. We'll be back probably next week with a regular full episode, probably with one of the not quite as good co-hosts of the show. But until then, well, thank you, Colleen, again for joining us for this awesome interview with Raven. But what do we got? Any tournaments going on this weekend for you?
There is. I'm actually running a tournament with Brooklyn, a fundraiser at Bronte. If anyone's looking for something to do, there's a Canada Day tournament up in Muskoka. I think at Limberlost. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a few big ones coming up. Spruce Open in a few weeks, so
that's gonna be huge. Well, wherever you are out there playing this weekend, we hope you have an amazing time and that you crush it out there. But on behalf of my wonderful co-host Colleen and Galen and Robbie, wherever they are, I am Sean Galbraith, and we will see you out on the course.